Hey everyone, and welcome back to my 13 Nights of Frights, Night 8. So for this episode, I want to talk about some of my favorite Universal monster movies, and then also go a bit into the themes and how these paved the way for so many contemporary horror films. I don't want to get into the plots or into every single film because keep in mind, all of these have so many sequels. I mean, there's like Invisible Woman, there's Wolfman and Frankenstein or something like that. I don't know, there's just so many of these, and I just want to go over my favorite. So in my personal opinion, I think the movie that really kicked off and made this Universal Monster series successful was Phantom of the Opera. And I'm talking about the 1925 version starring Lon Chaney, who has become such a renowned horror actor. He was the first big mega horror film star, and I gotta mention him, all due respect to the king. This film came out after World War One, and this was at the time where everybody was coming back home missing limbs, with deformities, disabilities. And he's also like a lonely character. He's an outsider. He doesn't have anybody to connect with. And then a really great iconic scene in the film is when he's holding up a knife, or so you think he is, but he opens his hands like, I have nothing, so you're scared of me for no reason. I don't mean you any harm. I just I just look like this, and it's not my fault. Any die-hard horror film like myself, these Universal monsters are the loners, the misfits, the ones that are always rejected by society, and I think anybody who can relate to that can have an appreciation for these monsters as well. My second favorite Universal monster movie is Dracula, starring Bela Lugosi. Now, I did mention in my vampire episode that I was going to talk about him, so I am. And the thing I like about Bela Lugosi is I heard that when he died, he was buried with a cape, not with the exact replica of the Dracula from the original Dracula movie, but with a vampire cape, and I think that's just so cool. He actually loved the role so much that he reprised the role in a Broadway stage or a Broadway musical. The visuals in this Dracula movie are just stunning. I love the scene where he first appears and there's this harsh shadow in the side of his face, and you see the light in his eyes, and the menacing but then yet intriguing look he has on his face is just so perfect as a horror movie villain. My third favorite Universal monster movie is Frankenstein. Now, when I was a kid, I always thought Frankenstein was the green monster with the bolts in his head, because it's titled Frankenstein, and you would assume like, okay, this is the name of the monster. But when I went into college, I read the book by Mary Shelley, and then discovered like, oh no, it's Victor Frankenstein. He is the doctor that reanimates this creature. The reason for that is why the title of the book and the movie is called Frankenstein, because there's this whole theme in the book. You should definitely read the book, by the way. It is kind of a difficult read, but it is beautifully written. There's so much to the character of the monster and Victor Frankenstein that I think you guys would love and appreciate. And then before going on, I also want to mention that the book and the movie are completely different. I mean, the movie version of the monster is portrayed differently from how he's portrayed in the book. I mean, in the book, he's supposed to look like a human, but then still with some stitches on his face. He's not green. He has no thunderbolts. He actually develops a very eloquent speech, versus the one that Boris Karloff has in this movie. You do see that in Bride of Frankenstein, that his speech develops more. Moving forward, there's this whole theme in the book of who is the real monster. Is it the monster that Victor brought back to life, or is it Victor himself for going against the laws of nature and bringing someone from the dead? And then he also abandoned the monster. A lot of people don't realize this. He abandoned the monster as soon as he created him because he was terrified of what he created, because it was his responsibility to teach him how to love, to be empathetic, what's good and what's bad, the manners. He was supposed to teach that to the monster, but he just left them. And then, you know, it's no wonder why the monster ended up killing people and killed that poor little girl in the movie, even though he didn't mean to. In the movie he did not mean to. He thought they were playing, and so he threw her in the water and then she drowned. Fun fact, that scene is actually censored because you're not supposed to show kids dying in movies. But
see how mine float?
and Frankenstein is my favorite out of all the Universal movies. He's just such a complex character. The monster is such a complex character, and I sympathize with him. I mean, he's lonely. He just wants human connection. He just wants a friend, and he wasn't given that. And then people are just going after him for the way he looks, and he doesn't look like them. And then we have The Bride of Frankenstein. That's also a spectacular film. I kind of prefer this one over Frankenstein. You know, there's some people that prefer Bride of Frankenstein over the first one, but I actually prefer the first one over the Bride, but I still love them both. But yeah, we have the beautifully talented Elsa Lanchester, who plays the bride, and she does that iconic scene where she's screaming in fear when she sees the monster greeting her. When Universal first came out, they were trying to establish what genre they should do. MGM, Paramount, and I believe Fox were already established production studios, and they were already taking over like drama, musicals, and westerns. And then Universal was just trying to put their foot in, like, okay, these studios are known for these genres, and why don't we do that for ourselves? Like, we need to have a genre that puts us on the map. And they went with horror, and look what that brought them. They brought them to creating such iconic films and movie characters that will forever live on in the history of horror and also history of cinema. And what I also love about these movies is that the social commentary they had at the time. Again, there was that whole thing of, oh, the evil people are the ones that don't look like us. The ones that don't look like us are the ones that we should fear. They look different, they act different, they speak different, so we need to get rid of them. What Mary Shelley was expressing in her novel, who is the real monster in this scenario? Is it the people that are going after them and influencing these villains to turn bad, or is it just in the nature of these villains to be bad people, to kill and do heinous acts? And that's such an interesting topic to explore. And that's why I think these characters are just so timeless, because they represent so much more than just being scary and being boo. They're technically human beings. I mean, yeah, Dracula is a vampire, but he was once human, and he has a human body, and he has human characteristics. Same with the monster in Frankenstein. Same with Invisible Man. Same with Wolfman. I'm not sure about the creature of the Black Lagoon, but it goes for the other Universal monsters. I just love the classic Universal monsters. I think they are just so rich and full of so much complexity that I appreciate so much. And they're movies that I think every horror fan should watch. And yeah, that ends night 8 of 13 Nights of Frights. Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. I promise. I'll be back tomorrow for night 9. Bye, guys.
I'll show you who I am and what I am. Look, he's all eaten away.